Welcome back to the Air Crown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy, very late Monday morning over here from this holiday day. I've been holding off all day to record this video because I was hoping that we'd see at least a test to the top side or the bottom side of the range. But alas, no, we do not. And realistically, we're probably gonna be waiting until at minimum Tuesday U.S. Open at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Why is that? Well, just from my studies, it does seem like Tuesday in particular has the highest volatility around U.S. Open, and just in general, Bitcoin's highest volatility times are within about the first hour of US Open. So with that in mind, I do want to briefly go over the information here in the Crown Trading application, because there actually are a few things that you do want to be aware of right now. One of them is, of course, the global open interest. Now, we've been going on an ongoing narrative for this one. I won't do the long-term analysis today. Obviously, that was yesterday's video, so I'll point you towards that video yesterday, as it's an hour long of just insertion of information towards the macro case. We're not going to be going over that in this particular video, just short-term, medium-term time frame stuff. But ultimately, I do still look for this to come down. Again, that can come multiple ways, whether it be shorts closing or longs getting absolutely wrecked. But here's the thing. Longs been so fucking wrecked for the last 2.5 months that realistically, it's probably going to come from some shorts taking profit after a very, very profitable last 2.5 months in this case. So I do want to see this reset. And the most important thing that I'd really be looking for, the indicator of the day coming from the Crown Trading application would, of course, be I want to see this reset somewhere down around 11 billion, maybe a little bit lower than that would look good. The lower the better, essentially, similar to what we saw back on over here after the summer dump, although I would suspect that we're not going to ever see it that low again. Of course, there's, the market cap is bigger, there's more market participants, we have, not entities, but we have, what's it called? The professionals, they're here. We have we have ETFs, we have futures-based ETFs, and that's going to naturally drive up the open interest over time. But still, I would like to keep it. I would like to see it come down a little bit more consistently with what we saw at the lows at the last major drive down from late November, early December. At that point, if we see something like that, with Bitcoin still holding above $40,000, that would be a really, 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 really big signal for myself. So I actually do have some alerts over here for the Fear and Greed Index. Should actually add one as well for the open interest, but I'll do that one later. Right now, I also want to call out here the global or the funding rates. As you can see, they have been consistently negative for about a week now. Of course, you do expect things to be negative funding when it's been within the context of a pretty massive and nasty downtrend. But ultimately, until Bitcoin actually flips these the fucking flip, I did it again. But God damn it. And now I'm doing it and I'm not even thinking about it. But until Bitcoin, clears one of our major price levels that we're going to speak about in a second here, I don't think that this is actionable information, but it would gear the probabilities towards an upside resolution of our short and medium term time frame range right here. So this would be a little more on the bullish side, obviously, but you do expect financing again in these sort of contexts. And this is very, very minimal, but even being minimally negative, it's not positive, which would have been a lot more obvious call for continuation to new lows in this case, or at least another test towards $40,000 and probably lower over time. Anyways, I should also probably call out the leverage ratio over here too. This one's just kind of, let me just flip it back on over here. There we go. The flip, the flip. This one's still incredibly high as well, but yeah, we do expect this to naturally go up into the right over time, simply because there's going to be, more leverage positions. That would be, your futures-based ETF, for example. Those are all leverage positions, in case you didn't know. So kind of not the same thing right there. I imagine that we'll probably have to let this data run for at least another year before we can really have some standardized ways of looking at it from, level perspective. All right, sweet. So let's get into the fun stuff right here. We have Bitcoin on a 4 hour. The range is the same shit as what we've been seeing before. 150, bless you, by the way, to the upside versus about $42,000 to the downside on a closing basis. Now, again, I do look at this as a little bit more of a formality here, simply for the fact that Bitcoin technically did break your prior range highs coming in from that first major drive down on the 6th of January. This was going back to January 12th right here. Since then, Bitcoin's come back down, set in so far a higher low. Could this be another higher low in the making right here? Yes, certainly. However, this would obviously be negated and imply targets back down at minimum to $40,000 and probably, well, I'd want to see a bounce after that and then come back to it. I wouldn't call a continuation directly from there just yet, but it would obviously put Bitcoin in a precarious place yet again. But at least another short-term time frame bounce and then come back to it and before making judgment. But that would be my target if and when Bitcoin does close a 4-hour delta below this bottom side range right here. In this case, to the upside, if you are still looking at this as a range right here, which is, is fair enough. I do think that is prudent, but But upon continuation, targeted regions would be off of this implied target would be back around about 45,500 to 46,500. This nice little blue box right here, to be fair. I also did call out over the weekend, which is relevant for the old cock and balls formation right there, which is the busting formation that we do see on CME. And that is one massive descending channel, which does have a higher probability to break out to the upside versus the downside. But still, how do you confirm an actual breakout to the upside or a resolution to the upside that actually does have an implied target, which is actually rather large in this case, about 55 to 56,000 bucks? That of course be back above these last rejective highs right here. And even then, but before then, you know, first things first, right? We do want to see first a higher low. You always, I wouldn't say you always, but you almost always get that in these sort of formations right here. Then you want to see the short-term range high breaks. That is, of course, our 44,000 and some odd change level on spot price action versus about 44,250 on CME right here. One of those, both of them are basically the same here. And that would be sort of your next sort of confirmation. Then the big one, the one where I actually would start to look at $55,000 to $56,000 as very much relevant, would be closing higher term timeframes back above about $48,000, our last major breakdown levels. So until then, you know, probably gonna be a boring rest of the day, to be quite honest with you. I don't think that we're looking at resolution until at minimum tomorrow. What's gonna be my clickbait title of the day? Warning, absolutely nothing happening. There you go. Let's go look at momentum oscillators and volatility indicators. I'm just curious to see what they're saying right now. Let's go back to this chart as we've been working off of it. 4-hour BBWP is coming off the lows. We're actually seeing 0 percentile read, or almost 0 percentile reads for 1, 2, 3, 4 periods in a row. Now kind of coming off of those. So, you know, we very likely are looking at a move outside of this range this week. I would even go as far as saying it's probably going to be tomorrow. But ultimately, do we see anything obvious on CME here? Because CME is the one that typically does have the more highly esteemed signals on a Monday and Tuesday, again, for my back testing. And what do you know on the 4-hour Joule light? It's white and it's literally right at 50, as neutral as it could possibly fucking get, to just completely represent today as it should be in this case, where I really don't have a major bias on price action. So with that in mind, even BBWP on CME, by the way, is still kind of working its way down here too. I'm curious if maybe the hourly has something obvious. Hourly is about to get a downside signal, I'd imagine. And by the way, we're actually be able to do some forecasting analytics on these soon enough, but it's just a fucking pain in the ass. So our geniuses, Mr. Mournfall and Mr. Caretaker, are working on it actually, but they're finding like a genius back way around it. I don't understand that shit, you know. It's like programming, whatever. I do. All I understand is this over here, which is a lot more simple, but I have a strong amount of respect for both of them. And that'll actually be really, really cool, because we'll be able to forecast the price that would be needed in order to get an official flip. And then, you know, then I could say, all right, so maybe an early warning signal of this actually getting broken one way or the other, instead of waiting for the actual range break, would be that price action. But for right now, we don't have that just yet. Anyways, stochastic momentum, do we see anything obvious over here? Let's go double check. 4-hour is about to turn down freshly with any sort of a closure below 43,000 bucks. That's coming in about 1 hour, 9 minutes and 27 seconds from this time, being recorded at about 2 p.m. UTC, I think it is. Buy hourly is probably already trending down, I'm going to guess, and it is already down, and will be staying down as long as we are below 42,850. By the way, this is on CME. I should go check out spot price action just to see if there's confluence between these. Spot's actually turning up right now above 42,550, which Bitcoin's literally just dancing around at this moment in time. So, you know, it's on the precipice. This is the last chance to buy before 42,639. The fuck, man. I wonder what all of the digital marketers are doing as their titles today. I need to go check this. Maybe I shouldn't do this on this video. Sorry, but it's going to end terribly. It's going to end terribly. Hourly is also flippy floppy, 42,700. So, you know, just right around the corner right there. Really not giving much of a bias here. And CME hourly, maybe this one could be quite useful. We'll turn back up above 42,650. So a lot of things actually pivoted around 42,500 to 42,700-ish region. Personally speaking, I do stick by what I've been saying here, that I do think that this is a bit more formality, in the sense that, you know, Bitcoin very likely does hold this range. And you know, and well, what essentially gives me that bias, it's not for anything other than the simple fact that we do have a higher low right here. We already broke the prior range highs. So, you know, I'm going to go with that as my current bias, alongside the underlying market dynamics, which I do think holds quite a bit of weight right there. And, you know, would I still be waiting for this over here? Well, you you know, pick your poison on this one. I mean, your risk is below here, your reward is above here. You know, it's of course up to everyone. Or just spend your day doing something a little more productive besides looking at sideways paint drying bullshit in cryptocurrency land. No, just kidding, man. If you didn't do that, you wouldn't be here with me, and this is what I'm going to be doing. So fair enough. All right, cool. I think that's going to do it for this video. I think that we got through all the major things that I want to talk about. Basically a long way of saying, you know, Bitcoin, you know, you do still have more etchings of a short-term reversal as long as you're above $42,000 on a 4-hour closing base. If you're using an hourly, I would not use the $42,000 region. I'd actually use that wick low, 41,600 or so. If that level is taken out on a closing basis, yeah, I would be looking for a move back down somewhere around low $40,000 territory before the next bounce attempt. So yeah, anyways, until then, I want to be wishing you well. We'll be back on with a live stream tomorrow, hopefully with some new price action to discuss as well. Take care and see you soon.